Welcome to selfdiscoverymedia.com, where we discover the communities that are making a difference in the lives of others. Our self-discovery is something we are all making on our life's journey. Here you will find the people that will be your guidance, that will be your inspiration, that will be there for you in support on your journey of life. Do enjoy. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Choose Positive Living right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy, and my guest, long time in production here, is Isabel Chiara. Is that the right pronunciation, love?
Chiara.
Chiara. Okay. We're going to be
Chiara.
talking about life actualization process and eat your words. What is eat your words all about? Is it to do with food? Is it to do with the dialogue? What are we saying? Is that something we're going to choke on? And what are the obstacles that we have? Or can we look at them as opportunities? We're meeting the challenges of the moment with the heart. She's dedicated decades to personal growth and development, but kept her own long life struggle with food well hidden from her work. Lily, nearing her 60th birthday, she knew she had to break her own silence about her struggles, and from this plate she wrote Eat Your Words and created Gianna Goviana, Giovanna,
Giovanni.
Giovanni, sorry, loosely based on the aspects of her own story, but presented in a relatable way so that too true to Isabel's nature, her own healing journey could be offered to others. So let us dive right into Eat Those Words. I think there's extremely very few people on the planet that don't have issues with food or weight. And certainly with COVID, there's been a great deal extra pounds that have gone on
Oh
many,
my
many
God, for
people.
sure, for sure. Yeah, and I think it's a struggle that most people go through, but I think that um, it can be a consuming struggle,
Mhm.
the struggle in relationship with food. I think that, it's in my own journey or in the journey of Giovanni, who's the character of this book. Let me just hold up the book. It's called Eat Your Words. Um, she chooses food as instead of feeling her emotions
Mhm.
in her life, and she goes through her life and with her fam. She's in a family business, and she chooses to numb herself with
Mhm.
food, which it's many people say they're just struggling with food, or many people say they're just eating, they're overeating, they can't stop. But I think really deep down and unconsciously, the relationship with food can be an
Mhm.
overcompensating the mind, right? It
Mhm.
becomes a focus eventually. And as we say, what you focus on is always like a persistent way to be. So if that becomes your every waking moment, food, you know, how we eat, what we're going to eat, where where's the alternative? Where's life? The focus of life becomes a little bit different, right?
Mhm. The balance. I mean, why do we have so many restaurants? Because people not only like to have good food, but the company around food. Certainly the Italian way or the North American way around the table, the socialization. And food brings us joy, not just, nurturing us, not just feeding us, but it brings us joy, it brings us connection, and the making of the food, all of that. I mean, food can have an extremely positive impact on our lives, but it's when we use food to hide the anxiety or hide the stress or hide the other emotions that we're not dealing with. I know I've gained weight through COVID, and I know a lot of that was stress eating. I was doing eight,
Right.
9 shows a week, stressed out about also what was going on in the world by trying also staying positive and the pivoting and everything. But I noticed the type of foods I was craving and eating were not that good for me. And I think that food is not the bad rap, but it's how we use the food and why we use it in a way that it becomes almost obsessive or compulsive that really becomes the issue.
Yes. Well, there's so many statistics right now that
Mm,
food, I mean, food could be worse than doing any kind of drugs, actually. It's the whole element of sugar also
Yes,
is
yes.
almost like doing cocaine, and it's a really hard habit to break.
Hmm.
So it's just something to really look at in life. What's the addictive to I always call it like the addictive uh, tool that we're going to be comforting ourselves with.
Hmm.
Um, and the story is really about nurturing oneself, getting nourishment, because really, ultimately, deep down, we are trying to nourish ourselves and um, feel okay, feel safe, feel embodied in our bodies. And what food does is almost takes us out of our body and takes us out of what's the present time on some level.
Hmm.
So that's really kind of what I'm looking at in the book. And the book is really a funny, sassy kind of a book on, um, really kind of flippant on, hey, this happened, so I'm just going to eat. I'm going to
Yeah.
have a chocolate bar. I'm going to have a Doritos, or it's really this woman's solution to most ailments in her life, any kind of encounter with anybody. So the goal of the book was to really bring forward that behavior so
Hmm.
people can relate and
Hmm.
feel that, just shed light on this whole way of eating, way of being with food, to just take a look at it. Because if you look at something, you're able to transform it a little bit, or even really ask important questions of what am I doing here?
Hmm.
Why am I doing this? Let me take a pause. Let me take a look at really what's going on. And I call it the inner landscape.
Hmm.
In my work, really looking at the inner landscape of what's underneath everything. And so it will allow people to say, hey, I do this. Oh, now become very conscious of that.
Right. Yeah, it's very easy to, to kind of the nibbling. My danger is kind of the 8 to 10 at night. Yeah, I
Mhm.
get nibbly. So like I have sesame snacks, sesame seed snacks. So it's not so bad, but that's my nibbly time. And we've got to know our pattern.
You
We've got to
okay?
know our pattern.
Okay.
We've got to know our weaknesses, and we've got to try and replace it with something.
Right. Right. Or just be aware of what's coming up. Just be aware of what's coming up in our what emotions are coming up that is creating that sense of I need to grab something, I need to eat something, I need to put something in my mouth, behavior, you know. And in my studies of these cravings, I have really noticed that different types of foods really are about certain, like we go to different types of comfort foods, like crunchy foods or salty foods, depending on um, what we were used to in our earlier childhood, what made us feel safe, what made us feel okay in our earlier childhood.
And that makes sense. Chocolate is for me,
Yeah.
right? So, but instead of, sorry, folks, a bit of a choking moment going on here. I go to the dark chocolate now, right?
Yeah,
So it's like, okay, I'm not going to deprive myself of the chocolate. I know I love it, but it's less of it and better quality. And I go for the dark chocolate, less sugar, less all the other additives in there, and just have a little bit just to satisfy the craving and don't, dive into it.
exactly. Well, there's also, you hit the nail on the head. There's no sugar in it because what I've discovered is sugar calls for sugar.
Oh, that's the addiction, totally.
That's
It's
the
yeah.
addiction. And there's something in the brain that goes off that is saying more sugar, more sugar. And these are actual words that if you really listen to, you can hear it in your head.
Mhm.
It's not saying, okay, here we go. That's totally enough. Depends on the food. It's really saying, hey, here we go. More, we need more of this.
Well, you know, when you're a kid, you can eat abundance amount of sugar, but then proverbially hit the ceiling because
Yeah,
you're on a sugar high, right?
right.
And then from that sugar high, it's a boom, down, plonk, to the crash, right? Because sugar just takes you on a pitch, but will also flatten you completely. And then so people then want more sugar to pick themselves up.
Exactly. Exactly. And then parents wonder why their children are running around like maniacs. Right.
Yes.
We we didn't know that.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. You're like an overwound up toy that you can't get switched
exactly.
off.
Exactly.
Again, I don't think, to give foods a bad rap, but it is the, artificials, the chemicals, the over excess. Too much salt is bad for you, too much sugar is bad for you.
Right.
I think the word that we don't use enough of is moderation. You don't have
Right.
to deprive, but moderate what you have and why you have it.
Exactly. Like stay in balance with what we're having and what we're eating and what we're choosing. Exactly. But in actuality, the main behavior of the character was to really kind of fly, like try to get connected to her own spirituality and try to get in her body. She didn't know how to get in her body with the foods that she was choosing. There
Mm.
wasn't that information wasn't out there then.
No, I did a wonderful show a few years ago, and it was The Clairvoyant Chef. And it's also, about feeding our chakras. And if we're craving a particular color foods, aubergine,
Mhm.
yellows, or this or that, that particular part of the chakra is needing substance. And so if we're craving, like, oh, I want yellow peppers or I want zucchini, it is
Mhm.
because we're feeding those chakras. And it's those are the kind of foods that you want, messages you want to pay attention to, because that's where you're lacking in your body, right? And there's so many wonderful good foods out there that you can eat that aren't going to, be what, you're not eating for the stress or for the misery. You're eating for the pure pleasure. That does help you connect with your own spirituality because you're eating it in a different way. You're connecting to that food, the nourishment of the food, the true taste of the food, how it brings it out in you, how it makes you feel. So it's not an escape, it's a connection.
Mm. Interesting. But I think that what I think happens, that's good as part of um, if the person was in that mindset,
Got to get there.
because if they have to get into in that mindset, and that's
Yes.
part, and that is the struggle that we tell ourselves, okay, this is how we're gonna eat, we're gonna pay attention, we're gonna eat intuitively, but um, our words that we're saying
Mm.
are could be different, and we have to be really clear on what we're telling our body because we're actually informing our body.
Yes. That's the first thing we eat, our own
Yes,
words, right?
we're informing our body, and we
Yes.
have, and I also see that we have like visual constructs in our mind
Hmm.
also on what we, even though we're telling ourselves, okay, we're going to eat healthy today. Like the moment we say that, I think there's a bell that goes off or some other visual that comes up, right? That's going, oh yeah, okay, I'll give you a meal or I'll give you like
Yes.
an
Yeah.
hour or so, and then
Yes.
something else comes up.
Yeah.
Um,
Chocolate.
right,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Eat your words, is we are very, very inclined when we do not have much self-esteem or where we're feeling trapped or disconnected from our heart and souls, um, to use the words that will bring us down rather than connect us and boost us up. And really, those words, we
Exactly.
are devouring those words and they are having effect on our entire psyche, aren't they?
You hit the nail on the head. It is so true. We are where there. I think a lot of the words are unconscious,
Hmm. Hmm.
and we don't notice. So that's one of the first steps that I actually tell people, just to get conscious on their words.
Yeah.
That's why I, in the book, described a lot of words and scenarios so that people would start to say, am I thinking this? Am I saying this? What
Hmm.
am I saying to myself? And start to journal what they are saying to themselves. Because if we become conscious of our words, then that is just the first, like, that's a huge step. And then we can, um, bring in some other words that
Mhm.
we don't necessarily want to bring in the opposite words because that could backfire.
Right.
We want to bring in some kind of words in a compassionate
More
way.
nourishing, more nourishing.
More
Yeah.
nourishing. Yes, that might allow us to shift into, different types of behavior.
Mm. Do you find that, for so many people, the image of themselves is outdated in the sense that they're still thinking they're in their 20s and 30s and now they're their 40s and 50s and they're wishing that they were back there. And instead of being happy with where they're at now and embracing who they are now, it's like, I still wish I was still being able to wear that bikini in, the 20s and 30s, or I still wish I looked like this. And then you see people go to the other extreme of the plastic surgery and the liposuction and the this and that. And it's like all you're doing is trying to escape yourself instead of embracing yourself.
Well, I have a different take on that,
Okay.
Sarah, because I think I am one of those people that
Okay.
I see myself in my 20s, but I
Right.
feel like it helps you into the aging process. It helps you not age
But
as,
you don't see yourself as a 20-year-old body, though, or just
so
a 20-year-old spirit.
I see myself as a 20-year-old spirit and
Right.
I see my face as a 20-year-old,
Hmm.
still back in, many, many years ago. And I feel like that and I see myself as that person too,
Hmm.
also. Of course, I've done a lot of things since that age to
Right. Yes.
this age. So I think that that's a little secret to your someone saying staying more youthful. So for me, that's how I look at things. You
But
know,
that spirit, I
I
understand. But it's when
yeah,
people look at it that their body must match the spirit, right? We get older, things get wider. That's just part of it.
yeah.
And then when you've got the 20-year-old spirit, but you want the body to match that. And it's like, it's just pretty well not feasible for most people. So, and then it's like the body becomes the enemy because it's not matching the vision of the spirit.
So well, it's interesting because I've started working out more and my body's actually has been in better, um, like, and as far as endurance and as far
Hmm.
as skin quality and stuff like that um, since that age. Well, I mean, it's been better in the last, 10 years.
Hmm.
So because I've been working out differently. So, I don't know how much of that is true for me,
Hmm.
Um, I I hold myself as youthful all the time.
Hmm.
So, and I like that quality. So, I'm not saying any way is right or wrong, and I don't know if I'm living in reality because, most of my life maybe I haven't.
And quite honestly, what is reality nowadays?
So quite honestly,
Because
I
you
mean,
look at it
reality
and
is
go, do I
whatever
want to be
you
a part
say,
of it?
right?
Yeah.
Whatever you say it is.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
um,
I think it's like, as long as you're not deluding yourself to a point of, harming yourself in any way, or, not allowing yourself to be the best version of yourself. You've
mm,
got people who will go to the extreme to have their body match, a younger version. And it's not because their
yeah.
spirit is young, it's that they're so caught up in the glory of those days, they don't know how to age gracefully with a young spirit.
Right.
You can see that it's like they almost become Barbie dollish. They've lost themselves so much in trying to be the image of what they used to be that they don't even know who they are inside or out now.
Mm. Okay, so I don't do that. I don't do that. For me, it's really about feeling that age, like
Hmm.
it's like almost spiritually. Like I feel myself at that age spiritually, and I look at myself. When I look in the mirror, I look at myself. Like I don't. When I look in the mirror, I guess it's not. I don't think I'm deluding myself, but
Right,
I don't look in the mirror and look for wrinkles.
right, exactly.
I
Yeah,
know I don't do that.
yeah,
And I don't even try to do that. I don't even think about it. It's like it's out of the scope of my
yeah.
sphere with that. So I don't think I'm deluding myself as far as that goes, but I could sit there and say, "Oh my God, I am hitting that age," and like with that age comes this perception. I just don't, I haven't gone there yet.
Yeah, I've
So
interviewed quite a
maybe,
number of
maybe
people.
give me 10, maybe give me another 10 years and then I'll do that. But
No, I had an 89-year-old. She's wonderful. I've had her on a few times, and the Pink Lady. And, she started her own TV station at 87, and she's, exuberant.
again, inspirational.
Absolutely. She's, and I live with an 88-year-old who has wrinkles galore, wrinkles galore. And she's like
Yeah,
4'11", and she's a judo expert and is still going to take people down. And yet, people are bending over backwards, but she's got a childlike spirit that
right.
is just so wonderful. And that's what I'm saying about is the spirit and the body. It's like, don't try and get the youthful body to keep your young spirit alive.
Hmm.
Allow the body to go through the process it's going to go through, but you can still keep your spirit, your youthful spirit, and the way you look at life alive. And that, I think, is important, because I'm turning 67 in a month. That's the number of years I am.
Yeah, but look at your face is like clear and like perfect, and so you must have young thoughts in your
Oh, I
your
do.
spirit
Yes,
too.
no, I feel that if you lose the wonderment of life, if you
Uh-huh.
lose, for me, I never go backwards. It's always going forwards. What else is next?
Yes.
What else can I do? It's not over until it's over. When it's over, I'm in the ground
Right.
with a tree.
I
But
agree with you. I agree with you. I think that it's the people that are curious, right?
Yes,
People that are curious that think like, oh my God, there's so much more to life that's available to me. There's so much I want to like every day I find things I want to learn. I find things like, I wrote a book a year ago
hmm
that's like was far-fetched for me.
right. Yeah, and that's the beauty as you get older, that you actually realize there's so many more things that you can do that when back in your youth, I can never do that.
Mhm.
I can never do that. And now you realize, well, your life experiences in that
Right.
wonderful maturity of a good bottle of wine, or a good
Yes.
bourbon,
Right.
that maturity of that roundedness, all that beautiful experience doesn't mean you lose that wonderment or that youthful look on life. It's just that you also take all those life experiences and you know where to put your energy
Right.
and where not to.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And it's about where you're and we just said that a couple of times. It's
Yeah.
where you're focusing
Yeah.
if you're focusing on learning and you're focused, but then I think, if you're focusing on your body and you're expecting it to get to a certain decrepitness and,
Yes.
you will, whatever
Yes.
your brain is
What you
focused
feed
on.
grows. Yeah.
Yes.
What you feed
Which is
grows,
the same
literally.
with
Yeah.
food. Whatever
Yeah.
you're focused on, you're going to be inhaling by the end of the day.
Yeah. So, even the way we eat food, like if we eat
Right.
food with a guilty nature, we're actually changing the texture of the food, because we're changing the chemicalization of how we eat it. We eat it with guilt,
How
and the
we
body
digest.
goes into, and it's it feels guilty for eating it, and it runs through your body. If you eat it with pleasure, with gratitude, with joy, then the body is going to, I feel nourished by this food. And we don't realize that the thoughts that we have, or the words that we say, or the attitude that we take does have an effect on the rest of our body.
Right. Right. Well, the digestive process starts by just looking at the food in the first
Yes.
place.
Well, that's why we
Yes.
eat visually,
So
isn't
that's
it?
part of the assimilation and how to nurture the food.
Yeah.
So if we are picking up, the food, that's why a lot of people talk about, which I have also put into my everyday plan too, is to sit there and be present with your food.
Yes.
Right? And feel the food where it came from, because you're actually feeding your digestive system. You're feeding and nourishing your cells and you're nourishing your body. So if you could take that moment to sit with your food and just be aware of, like you were talking about, the color
Yeah.
palette of your
Mm.
food, and really, you're really integrating that before you even take a bite.
When
Yeah.
people say prayers before they eat, it could be prayers to God, or it could simply be gratitude for the food in front of you. Because we
Hmm.
take food for granted nowadays. It's just in the supermarket. I think most kids don't even know what farming is, or where the
Right.
food comes from, or who's suffering to feed you. And if we became more mindful of the food and its journey, I think the farm to table, I think that we would eat with a great deal more gratitude, with more appreciation and more understanding what is nourishing to us,
Right.
right?
And
Because,
the truth is you can't eat that much.
right,
You know, you're
yeah,
used to eating, if you're eating with presence and you're really feeling your body, then you can, if you, let's just say you're used to eating double full plates,
yeah,
you really can not eat actually, a quarter of that
right.
because your cells are actually you're getting nourished
Hmm.
as you are eating immediately. You're feeling it. You're getting nourished, and you can only eat a certain amount at that point. But if you're
And
not
still enjoy
connected
it.
to the food, if you're
Yeah,
not connected to the food,
right,
then you just keep, eating it, and it's not really connecting to your
right.
body, the food. Right.
Well, it's like
Yeah.
if you go to the movies and you get popcorn, your hand is doing this,
Yeah.
and you're like, I can't stop it. You go to the bar and there's
Depends on the
peanuts, and
tone.
and it's like,
Depends on the tone of the movie.
yeah, or the popcorn going everywhere during a horror moment. But the
Right.
thing, it is so addictive to eat, right? And it's like, choose the foods that you know that you can moderate. And if you know
Right.
that this is something I can't stop eating it, don't start eating it. Do
Yes.
your body a favor, right? Find something
Exactly.
else to subdue with it. Because we don't realize, I think, that not only the food that goes in, the attitude that we eat it with, the nourishment that it takes from it, the why we're eating it. Is it to, camouflage a feeling? Or, is it to nourish our bodies? Is it because we're in good company? All of this comes into play, doesn't it?
Yes. Totally. Everything is coming into play. So the reason why I actually wrote the book was to really take apart years and years and years of habits,
Hmm.
including um, the your generational
Yeah.
generational habits, environmental, everything, I was
Patterns.
trained,
Yeah.
everything I was trained to do, the ways I was trained to eat,
Yeah.
and show through this character the path, the timeline
Mm.
of leading up to now, and to try to, get some form of healing around the whole food um, way, the way to eat, the whole food relationship.
Yeah. Again, the dialogue. I mean, you're eating your words first, as you've got, that dialogue you have with yourself. Um, we consume a great deal of negativity of ourselves or even our environment. And of course, in this last couple of years, with everything that's going on, all we have is this negative, negative, negative out there, one disaster after the other, and it's like hard for people to breathe. And so what do? They stress eat. Food becomes the comfort. And there's nothing wrong with comfort food, again, in moderation. Why are you doing? Is it to comfort because you're really stressed out? Okay, have a good hearty meal, but don't let it become the habit, because I think what it is habits we develop that are not good for us.
Yes. I think you're also speaking a lot about the words. If the words that come in, if we start to correct ourselves
Mm.
and forbid ourselves to eat certain foods, our body actually rebels against that
Mhm.
type of
Yes.
conversation.
Yeah.
And in that rebellion, it like almost backfires.
Yeah.
You're eating, you start to eat more, you start to eat more obsessively. So that's another um, thing to watch out for
That's why
when
diets don't work, right? Because the
that's why
moment you
diets
say
don't work.
diet, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say the word diet because I'm not offering any solutions.
Right.
I
No, but
am
that
just
you say I'm
showing
on a diet,
words.
immediately you're hungry and craving everything.
I'm just showing I'm just showing how the effect of different words are on our psyche. Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
immediately we feel deprived. uh,
Immediately. And,
Immediately.
and we go into that age, maybe it's 12 years old, maybe it's
Hmm.
earlier, when we were told we couldn't have something.
Yes.
We'll do anything we can to get it. But except for doing it to ourselves now.
Right, exactly.
Right,
So it's it's you're not going on a diet, you are just having a wellness lifestyle,
right.
right? So the body can go wellness. Oh, wellness, I like that. Lifestyle, I can make this a lifestyle. So
Right. That's a good one. I like that, wellness.
yeah. And I think that we forget how our words can really have impact on us. And we think we're just throwing them out there, but the psyche is picking them up and
Mhm.
immediately, analyzing them and dissecting them and chewing them over, and then setting the whole body and everything else into play. So I think kind of the first change in our diet should be the words that we use.
Right. Yes, I don't know if if there is anyone that's actually said, let's just get conscious about what we're saying to ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And
So
it's
I
not
think
the,
that's really important,
yeah.
an important first step.
And it's not like, why am I doing this? It's not for anyone else other than you. You
Exactly.
want to have a better lifestyle, a more wellness lifestyle, mind,
Mhm.
body, heart, and soul.
Right.
Because when you do, you can do more. You're more enthusiastic. You have more energy. You are more accomplished. You can achieve more. And so if you look at, I really would love to do that. Well, what's stopping you? Your lifestyle? Then how are you going to put wellness in its place so that you can go and do what you want to do?
Exactly. Yes.
I think you have to also know not only your own habits and your own patterns and your history of where it comes from, but also look at your family's history. You know,
Right.
Italian families, mangi, eat.
Exactly.
Everything.
Well, that's interesting that you bring that up because the whole focus was the dinner table, right?
Yes, yes.
Preparation.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of Italians came from agrarian culture, right? And prepared the foods. I mean, actually, my parents came from
Hmm.
farm country in Italy, and would prepare the foods right from the ground.
Yeah.
So, we also were brought up in that environment. Not all the time,
Hmm.
of course, but we were introduced to it. So we had an idea of where things came from.
Hmm.
I think that that's something that's so missing right now
Yes,
for people.
yes.
Where is that food coming from? You know, like I think that like large groups of people think that there's so many vegetables people don't even know about, like
Yeah,
really beautiful green vegetables that they don't even know that aren't even, sometimes they're off the shelves now.
yes.
um, and a lot of people brought up thinking corn and
Hmm.
uh, what is it, corn and peas are,
Yes.
like some of the
The
only
stable diet, yeah,
stable
carrots, yeah, and potatoes.
and
Yes,
iceberg lettuce and yeah.
yes. Yeah, and of course, if you talk about, like, my daughter and her husband are vegan, I'm partially there, not 100%, and immediately think that they just think lettuce leaf and carrot sticks, and that's it. And like, there is a fantastic spectrum of foods that are absolutely wonderful. And people, oh yeah, but you need your protein. Well, elephants, look at the size of them. What do they eat? Right?
Right.
Cows, what do they eat? And it's like, look at the muscle they have on them. So we don't see the nutritional value in food because we're kind of brainwashed into what just look at the advertisement, look at the grocery store, what is by the cashier,
Right, exactly.
the chocolates and the
Yeah,
junk food.
the impulsive
Yeah.
grab
Hmm.
and get right away.
Yeah, exactly. And fast food. Now, yes, it can have
Can
its
it get any
convenience.
faster? Can fast food get any faster than calling up and then having it ready for you in
Exactly,
your door?
exactly. And then what
Because that's
happens with
really
the
what
fast
you're
food? We eat
craving.
it fast. you
Right,
know
exactly.
we don't really appreciate it. We eat it fast, so we eat on the run. I had a friend that went to Europe, and she's normally just grabs her coffee and goes, and she said, but people were sitting around drinking it and conversing with each other. And I said, that's my favorite thing about coffee, just meeting a stranger at the next table and having a chat over a cup of coffee, taking life in. I think
Right.
it makes the flavor of the coffee completely different. But North America, I think especially, is, the fast food kings and queens, where it is eat on the run, shove it in your face, and off you go. And that's not the way to eat.
Exactly.
not satisfying on any level.
You're so right about that because Europeans have a coffee break.
Yes,
And it's a little small cup of
yes,
espresso,
yeah,
right? It's not big.
yeah,
But, it's like an hour coffee break.
yes, exactly. And what's the feast over that break is the conversation, right?
Exactly.
The communication. Do we
Right.
stop and do that? Line up for hours to get your makirani waka waka jacatini ono and then go on the run into the car, spill it half the way. You know, it's like slow down, folks. Slow
Right.
down.
Extra large latte, extra
Yes,
large latte.
yes, exactly. And
Yeah.
then wonder why you're broke at the end of the month with a $10 coffee every day. Yeah. Um, I think appreciation is something that a lot needs to come into life, isn't it? One of the things is we're taught to appreciate external things and not internal things. And when we go internally and ignite our heart and souls and spirits, we truly understand what appreciation and gratitude really is, where the value of life really is. And then we look at externally, we need external things, but we look at it in a totally different way, don't we?
We do. I think that when going inside and really looking inside is just a huge way to open up the heart.
Oh, God, yeah.
I have learned through this process that going inside is the best way to shift
Hmm.
something that's really, some of the words and some of the habits that I formed. And I really take this as one habit at a time.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
this isn't a like one and done process, going through the food chain, relationship with food. It's really taking like some of the words and transforming some of the behaviors that are associated with the words and really going inside, and really being with yourself or oneself, because it really has taken us out of our bodies,
Yes.
right? It's taken us way out of ourselves. And I started a spiritual journey when I was the day I graduated college, actually. And I was thinking that spirituality for me was outside of me too.
Right. Yes.
Having come, all these years to find out, well, the spirituality is really inside of us.
Yes.
The most important place is like right in us, and it's a heart opening right now. And I think that's the time we're in right now. All these things are happening in the world, and I mean, it's frustrating, but I mean, what we're doing is we're watching it. And it's opening up our hearts as a nation,
Mm.
right? We're seeing what's going on, and our hearts are like, we're feeling for, people that are having they have experiencing a lot of loss. You were just telling me how, whole towns were burned down where you
Yes.
were.
Yes.
How do you, like, that's so heart opening
Yeah.
to watch that happen, and reach out and connect with these people. You can only imagine what kind of what's for someone to lose everything that they had. It's
Yeah.
just, yeah, it's just so much. We've never seen loss like
Yeah.
we have in our lifetimes, like we are seeing now.
Right.
And
Yeah.
we don't know. I think a lot of the anxiety is we don't know what's going to happen.
No.
Like the future that we used to be count on and
Yes.
feel safe in doesn't feel that way anymore. It's like, oh my God, what's going to happen today? What's going to happen in the next week? I don't know if you ask people, I don't know where I'm going to be, So I think that's
But doesn't
what
that teach us to be appreciative of the moment? All we have is the now. The gift of the
all we have
present
is
is
the
in the
now.
now.
Exactly. All we have is the now. Our heart is open.
Yeah.
We can open our hearts to ourselves. We can open our hearts to our neighbors. We could just be. We have no choice but to be in the now because we don't know what the future is.
Right. Exactly. And
Yeah.
I firmly believe that the spirit and the source energy, God, whichever you wish to call it, cannot speak through you unless your heart is open.
Yes.
Your heart has to be open to receive it. And part of the pain and the anguish that we're feeling for people right now, what's going on in Afghanistan, and we can't help but feel, an entire country now is, again in turmoil, and they've been in it for so long. And you can't, you want to reach out and do something, but you don't know what to do. And this is why I always say to people, choose your battle, what it is that you're going to step up and represent and fight for, because we can't fight for everything. You're going to feel the pain of that. That shows you're a compassionate person. Don't try and block it off, but also make sure you do go through the process, because if you don't, you will turn to food or other sources to numb it. Don't try and numb it, because that
Right,
doesn't work either.
right. And actually feeling it is
Mhm.
human, right?
Yes,
You just
yes,
say that. Like it's okay to feel what's happening there.
yeah,
It's okay.
yeah.
It's
And then,
it's
we,
what we're
people,
here to witness. We're here to witness that. It's
yes,
in our face. We can't deny it anymore. It's
no,
in our face. So
yeah. And it's like, for so long, I think we became nonchalant to what we had, the opulence of everything. And I think now it's kind of taught us to, be really grateful for what we do have, because we're so busy worrying about what we haven't got. Let's look at what we do have. Let's look what we are empowered to do. Let's look at how we can be of service to one another. And you really can't serve other people until you serve yourself. And, so you really need to ignite your own heart and soul so that you can be of service to others. That's where the real gift is, isn't it?
it's totally. I 100% agree with you, Sarah, that we need to really spend time with ourselves and really get to know ourselves right now. I mean, we were forced to spend time with
Yes.
ourselves. It was
Yes.
like it happened for us, actually.
Yes.
I don't want to I don't like to say it happened to us. I like
Mm,
to say it happened for us.
I agree with you.
The last year and a half, almost 2 years, we were forced to be isolated, be with our families, and if people looked at it, it depends on how people looked at it. That was a gift. That
Yes.
was a gift because we got to go in. A lot of people started meditating. A lot of people started doing things on their own. That was the power of the last 2 years.
One of the sad things is it brought us all together in appreciation and camaraderie and community. And now you're seeing, the division, against or for, trying to pull us apart again. And yeah, you see, this is the media, whatever media it is, social media or news media, they take and pimple, make it into a volcanic eruption. And we've got to be careful what we're buying, what we're eating. And if the news is just coming across so negative all the time, and all you're hearing is it's switch it off, because you don't want to consume that. It's going to be bad for your health, bad for your psyche, bad for your equilibrium, and it doesn't empower you to do anything.
Hmm.
You just get caught up in the hurricane.
Right.
So, we've got to be the best versions of ourselves in order to help others,
Right.
don't we?
We do. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
And,
We,
I don't know about you, but I'm sure you feel the same, is that as we get older, we get more appreciative of what we're able to do, how absolutely awesome we are, and the beautiful word, flawsome, we are. And
the word
that
blossom.
flawsome, flawsome, we've all got flaws. Let's be flawsome about it.
Oh, blossom.
Flawsome.
Okay.
Um, because I think that if we're constantly looking for perfection, somebody's idea of perfection is a different for another, and all you're going to do is tear yourself apart trying to be perfect for one person or the next person, and that only depletes you. So embrace all your beautiful flaws and just be
Right.
awesome about it, right?
Exactly. And really kind of look at, whatever your beliefs are. I guess what makes the world go round is that other people don't have the same beliefs as you have
Right.
on some level, you know?
Uh,
So we're
and
seeing
let's
that
look at it from
around
their
us.
perspective. Yeah, look at it from their perspective. I mean, to get the whole picture, you've got to listen to everybody,
Hmm.
right? And you may not agree, but at least you maybe understand where they're coming from. And I
Hmm.
think one of the problems is we're not listening, we're judging. What
Exactly.
what does judgment do? It immediately puts us on defense, immediately makes us feel insecure, makes us feel that we've got to, protect something, and throws us completely out of sync.
Totally. Yeah.
So even in your recovery of going in, you're going to see things about yourself that maybe you don't like, some old habits that you've done. Don't persecute yourself. You just press delete on them and reprogram something more
Exactly.
positive.
Exactly. And there's a reason why you went down that route.
Yes.
There's a reason why you believe what you believe. There's a
Hmm.
reason why you see things the way you see things, and you get to keep choosing.
Yeah.
Life's like, I always say, life's like a big timeline of possibilities.
Hmm.
Like, just because you're focused on something right in front of you doesn't mean that's the way life really is. You
Right.
could you could open it up and you could say, I don't know the rest of the story.
Hmm.
Right? We don't know the rest of the story. We don't know what's happening. We don't know what's going to happen. And we could choose to jump on another timeline.
Well, as you said, the life actualization process, to,
Exactly.
to actualize what you want, you've got to be willing to go through the process. That
Exactly.
is the important thing. And going through the process is not a chore unless you make it one. It's an exploration of self-discovery.
Hmm.
It's exciting because you've sold yourself short for so long. Now you realize, hey, I didn't know I could do that. Did you know you could write a book?
Hmm. Well, of course not. You just have that kind of floating around
Mhm.
somewhere. You're like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. But, then you have to like pull the trigger at some point and say, okay, it's time.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of energy. So I think that everyone has a book in them.
Yeah. Yes, mine is sitting on my desktop waiting to be done.
Because everyone has a book on them. And if you need, sometimes people need an accountability person to
Yes.
help them do it, and
Hmm.
they need somebody to help them with it, and that works too.
Yes. I've said mine is coming out next March for April. So,
All right, good
yeah,
for you.
April 4th will be my 10th anniversary in podcasting, and I want a book to come out at the same time. So, yeah, I've
Good
got
for
to
you.
get it
You
done
have
by
a
then.
lot of good things to say, and you have a lot of information.
Well, it's will be Sarah's view of life, coming from me, but it's I used to think, God, what have I got to write about myself? I don't want to, where do I start from the beginning? No, no. And I realized no, it's just like the various chapters of my perception. And that's really it, right? There is no really wrong way to write.
Uh-huh.
If it comes from, again, the intent of heart and soul. So, and we want that diversification. God, you imagine if every book was the same?
Oh, exactly. Yeah. And you already
Imagine
have
if we were.
and you already have a big audience that wants to hear you.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll
Yeah.
find that out.
Yeah.
When I started podcasting 9.5 years ago, I had absolutely no idea even what a podcast was. And I had no idea if I could do it. In the first 13 months, I did it live and I pressed all the wrong buttons on the first show. And it was I call it the soap opera training because, you're thrown into the deep end. And then I went off and did my own. And that I had no idea how to do either. And it was a learning in process. Do
Yeah.
not try and think, oh, I've got to have everything lined up in order to do it. No, have the enthusiasm, have a certain amount of structure, have the right tools, and just go about it with good intent. You'll learn as you go and adjust as you go.
Exactly. Exactly. Isn't that true? You can't start out, never start out anything in the beginning because it always turns into something different than what you had planned also.
Right. Yes. Don't try and be the expert at the beginning. That's what you become at the end.
Yeah. And even then some.
Yes. Yes. And then it's like, well, that's that chapter. What about the next one? Something else to
Exactly.
learn, right? What
Yeah.
is next for you?
So I'm already on book two.
Yay. What's this one?
It's really talking about a lot of different modalities to um, in the behavior of the body behavior and what the behaviors are in eating,
Mhm.
and not just eating, but just what all these modalities of what needs to be done, like communication
Yes.
with the body. And there's 5 or 6 immersions. Gianna becomes a researcher in her own life and starts to look at all of these different spiritual modalities
Mm.
on how to transform her behaviors.
Excellent. So, in other words, you've written it as a novel, but it's a how-to book.
Um, kind of, yes, kind of how to, but it's like kind of a
Yeah.
researched.
But it's a novel because it's based over a different character.
Yes.
So you've merged
Well,
all
because
of
it
those
makes
things
it
together.
easier. It makes it easier to. Gianna becomes my muse, right? It
Yes.
becomes like a heal. So she becomes the healer of her own life.
Hmm.
by experiencing a lot of these modalities, which is really introducing the world to a lot of different modalities that they might not know about
Right.
that could transform their own life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and
I,
also, I also have I have a bunch of they're called healing activation process integrations, and it's a membership site that will be that's on my website, where people can sign up for and go internally into their own process of their life. It brings them through a actual some are like focused on the heart,
mhm.
um, and there's really interesting names and processes that it takes you through, and you could transform behaviors from inside. So after reading this book, I'm not leaving everybody hanging.
Mhm.
There's different things that processes that you could take people through, and I am taking people through in order to uh, really look at themselves and really get into their, like, it's almost like it's like almost like a meditative, but it's not really
Right.
meditative. You're really following a guided process, and the more you do it, the more you're seeing and the more you're able to transform a lot of behaviors. So I'm super excited about that also. And that's on my website, and it's called Isabel Chiara, Isabel Chiara.com. And if they go to that, also they could download the free first chapter of my book
Mm,
to get a real flavor of it and see if they like it. And it's free for them.
wonderful.
So if anything, they can pick that up right now.
Well, the book is the introduction. What you're offering is the intermediate to the next book, which then becomes the process.
Exactly.
So, you're taking people through the process in different ways.
Yes. Yes.
And as you said, not everybody knows what the process is. Okay, you're talking about process. How do I go through it? What are the stages? What's next? And
Yes.
we need that guidance, right?
Yes, yes, and instead of working with a coach one on one,
Mhm.
you get these processes, and you get to do it 2 a month, and you get to do it often, and
Mm.
it's really transformative,
Yeah, because in
very
order to
transformative.
change things, not only have we got to delete an old programming, but we've got to insert a new programming. And it takes a minimum of 8 positives to undo one negative. So
Mhm.
it means that you have to be repetitive on this new programming, on this new style, until it
Yeah,
becomes something that becomes just second nature to you.
right. And you're shifting. You're not like outwardly saying, "Okay, shift this
Mm.
behavior. I don't like it." You're actually, what happens is you just automatically shift from within.
Yeah, yeah,
Isn't that the best way to do it? So you don't have to try or you don't have to
right.
work hard at
I think
it.
that's most of the time people just don't realize, hey, I'm stuck, I'm in a pattern, I'm in an old rut. Until
Right.
somebody points it out, or read the book and go, God, I relate too much to this. And it's like, oh, maybe, I've had a reflection of myself now. And like, what
Hmm.
do I do to go in and start pivoting, start changing? Now, do not try and do,
Yes.
the 180, because you'll end up with the 360. It is like one step, two step. When you're learning to dance, you're
Hmm.
not going to do the whole tango straight off. You've got to get the rhythm. Use the one step and the two step and build the rhythm, get those hips going, process. And then if you go through each one of them at your own pace and you get there and you go, okay, I've got this. I'm now ready for the next one. So it's just be willing to participate in your life,
Yeah.
right? That's
Yeah.
a lot of people are, oh, just give me an app,
Yeah.
and no,
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 no.
no,
It's
no.
more than
This
that. You
integration,
gotta go, you gotta go
participation.
in. You gotta integrate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for having me on your program.
My
It was
pleasure. Thank you for being
wonderful. It
there.
was so wonderful talking to you, and I love the work you're doing in the world.
Ditto, go right back at you. I mean, eat those words. There's many connotations there, and
Right.
really, we are talking with the mind and the heartfulness, aren't we? The
Yes.
mind and the heart need to get in sync, because
Yes.
when they do, then it's really speaking more in truth instead of in old programming.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I agree.
Thank you so much for sharing
Nice
here
day.
today.
Thank you.
And to everyone else out there, there's no blame and there's no shame. If you need to change something in your life, that's okay. It's being aware. I've got this bad habit. I need to change it. What do I do? Get her book. It's on Amazon, or you can get the first chapter on her site and read it. then look at taking the program and get ready for the next book, because she's going to help you along your way. And remember, flawsomeness is awesomeness, and it's okay. You are perfectly wonderful as you are. We just want to improve yourself from that spiritual point of view so you're more connected. So until next time, folks, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. You will hear many, many shows here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. We have new shows for you out every week. Just find them on our podcast or What's New. If you feel that you have something to share that makes a difference in the lives of others, or you too feel that you could be a host, please contact me at info@selfdiscoverymedia.com, and we will be glad to speak with you. Have a wonderful day.